Say the right words at the very moment of intimacy, and you will never again have to compete with another woman. The man who hears something profound in that intimate instant never forgets, because it is not only the body that responds, it is the soul that awakens. There are phrases that are not spoken to seduce but to mark. They cross the barrier of the physical and reach places that no touch alone could ever reach. I'm not talking about rehearsed cliches or shallow lines copied from magazines. These are expressions loaded with truth, emotion, and presence. Every man seeks, in the silence of the act, the certainty that he is not just flesh, he is destiny, he is choice, he is meaning. What binds him is not the immediate pleasure, but the deeper sense revealed in that moment. Many believe fidelity comes from vigilance, jealousy, or games of seduction, but what truly holds a man is the feeling of being seen in his essence. These words are not mere sounds, they are symbols, keys that open invisible doors within him. Get ready, because this is not just a video about physical intimacy, but about accessing the most silent and powerful layer of the male mind, the hidden secret in the male mind. Most women believe they understand a man's mind, but the truth is that there is a part of him that is rarely accessed. It is not only about visible desires, obvious behaviors, or the words he repeats in conversations. What truly guides his deepest choices, including in intimacy, is hidden in invisible layers of his psyche. Carl Jung called these layers the unconscious, and it is precisely there where the secrets lie that define why a man attaches himself to one woman and not another. When we talk about intimacy, it is easy to think only about the physical. The touch, the warmth, the rhythm, all of this is important. But for a man, something weighs far more than the strength of instinct. It is the meaning given to each gesture, to each word, and to each silence. Even without realizing it, he looks for signs that confirm something greater. That the moment is not just passing pleasure, but a kind of destiny. Very few women know how to awaken this in him. The secret is in understanding that a man does not only seek satisfaction, but validation. He needs to feel recognized as a unique presence, that his existence makes a real difference. It is not enough to be beside him. It is necessary to show that he is seen in depth, that there is a value beyond the surface. This confirmation, when expressed in the right way, becomes a powerful trigger. During P3N3TRAT, this secret reveals itself more intensely. It is in that instant that the walls of consciousness weaken, and the unconscious speaks louder. The man is vulnerable, open, surrendered. He may look strong and unshakable in daily life, but in that intimate moment there is a crack that exposes what he hides. If the woman knows how to cross that gap with the right words, she awakens in him something no one else can replace. It is not about manipulation or shallow games. It is about understanding that behind all appearances of hardness, a man seeks a deeper sense. Jung said every human being carries symbols that move their life, and in men those symbols are often tied to recognition, legacy, and belonging. He does not want only to be desired. He wants to be confirmed as someone who has value and purpose. When a woman grasps this, she discovers the hidden secret. Fidelity and exclusivity cannot be bought, controlled, or forced. They arise when a man feels he has found a space where his essence is accepted and valued. That is the true magnet, not external tricks of seduction. Simple words, but loaded with truth, can make all the difference. They are not rehearsed lines nor magical formulas. They are expressions that come from perception, from careful attention, from real presence. When a woman communicates in an intimate moment that she sees something in him beyond the obvious, the man feels he has entered sacred territory. That is when his unconscious anchors itself and begins to associate that woman with something irreplaceable. The hidden secret, therefore, is less about discovering ready-made phrases and more about perceiving what activates in him the sensation of being unique. It is about understanding that in the moment of greatest physical surrender, the mind is also thirsty for signs of depth. It is in that space that a woman can leave a permanent mark. This may seem subtle, but it is what separates fragile relationships from those that truly hold a man. When he feels he is in front of someone who touches his soul, he does not compare. He does not look for alternatives. He does not drift away. His mind creates a bond that goes beyond the physical and into the core of his being. At this level, intimacy stops being just an act and becomes an imprint. It becomes a memory replayed long after the moment has passed. The body may forget, but the unconscious does not. Once that key is turned, it is almost impossible for him to feel the same connection with anyone else. He may try, he may even pretend otherwise, but deep down he knows he has already been reached at a level no one else touched. This is the hidden secret in the male mind. Beneath the surface of desire and control lies a longing for recognition stronger than instinct. Few women dare to step into this space, and fewer still know how to use words as symbols that awaken it. But those who do discover they hold something no other woman can compete with. The power to be remembered not just in the body, but in the deepest silence of his soul. Words that break through any defense. Every man builds walls around himself. Some are visible in his behavior, others are hidden in the silence he keeps. These defenses are not always intentional. Many are shaped by experiences, disappointments, fears, and the pressure of always having to appear strong. On the surface, he may seem confident, sometimes even distant, as if nothing could affect him. But behind those walls lies a deep need to be reached. And the truth is that most women never discover how to cross those barriers. The moment of intimacy is when those defenses become more fragile. The body is present, the rhythm is shared, and something begins to happen that no strategy of control could create. During this time, the words a woman chooses have the power to pierce layers that daily life keeps hidden. They are not ordinary words, and they are not about rehearsed declarations. They are phrases born out of presence, spoken with truth and loaded with meaning. When said at the right moment, they break through any shield a man has built around himself. Why do words carry such power? Because language is symbolic. Jung explained that the unconscious does not speak in rational explanations, but in images and symbols. Words, when charged with emotion, act like symbols that touch parts of the psyche that logic cannot reach. A simple expression, when aligned with authenticity, has more force than hours of discussion. It is not about the length of what is said, but the depth. Imagine the difference between common flattery and genuine recognition. A generic compliment scratches the surface, but true recognition touches something deeper. When, during intimacy, a man hears words that affirm his presence, his essence, his value, those defenses begin to dissolve. It is as if his unconscious finally receives a confirmation it has been waiting for. That confirmation does not only comfort him, it bonds him. These words that break defenses are not about control or manipulation. They are not tricks designed to trap him. They work because they resonate with what every man secretly longs for, to be seen beyond the surface. He does not want only to be admired for his body or his strength. He wants to feel that his presence means something greater, that he is part of a destiny and not just a moment. When the woman communicates this through words during P3N3TRAT, the impact is unforgettable. Breaking defenses does not mean making him weak. On the contrary, it makes him stronger in the bond he creates. It is in this surrender that he feels secure enough to give himself fully. When he perceives that the woman is not attacking or demanding, but affirming, he no longer resists. He connects, and that connection goes beyond the physical. It becomes mental, emotional, symbolic. Think of words as keys. Each phrase that carries truth and presence works like a key sliding into a lock. Some keys do not fit, they make noise but do not open anything. Others slide perfectly, unlocking a door that was waiting. When that door opens, the woman steps into a place inside him that few have ever reached. From there, everything changes. The way he looks at her, the way he remembers her, the way he chooses her. The beauty of this is that these words do not need to be elaborate. They do not require poetry or complicated language. In fact, the simpler they are, the stronger they become, because truth is not hidden behind difficult speech. Truth is revealed in authenticity. A few words, spoken at the right moment, can create a transformation that lasts for years. Jung believed that symbols have the power to shape the way we live. When words are spoken during intimacy, they are not just sounds. They become symbols that enter the unconscious. And once something enters that space, it does not leave easily. The man carries it with him, often without even knowing why he feels so drawn back to that woman. What happened is that his defenses were broken not by pressure, but by meaning. This is why so many relationships fail to reach true depth. Women often invest in appearances, in strategies, in external displays. But what truly makes a man stay is when his unconscious feels recognized. That recognition usually comes through words, spoken at the right time in the right way. Words that are not mechanical but alive. To break through any defense, the key is not force, it is resonance. And resonance only happens when the words come from a place of truth. When a woman speaks from her soul, the man's soul listens, and no wall can resist that. If you want to understand the hidden patterns shaping your relationships, there is a simple path to see yourself with clarity. It's called the Jung Method. The link is in the first comment. The difference between desire and deep bonding. Desire is powerful, but it is unstable. It can ignite quickly, burn intensely, and then fade as fast as it appeared. Many women confuse this spark with true attachment, believing that if a man desires them strongly, it means he will stay. But Carl Jung's perspective helps us see that desire and bonding are not the same. One belongs to the body, the other to the unconscious. And while desire alone may not last, deep bonding has the power to hold a man beyond temptation, beyond distraction, beyond time. The physical spark of desire is tied to instinct. It is the response of the senses, the reaction of hormones, the quick pull of attraction. This is what makes a man look, want, and act. But instinct by itself is blind. It does not choose permanence. It seeks release. If a woman depends only on this, she will constantly feel the need to compete with other women, with novelty, with anything that excites him temporarily. Desire may bring intensity, but it rarely brings security. Bonding, however, is different. It is built not on the surface of the body, but in the depth of meaning. A man may feel desire for many women, but he only bonds deeply with the one who touches his unconscious. This is where Jung's insights matter. He showed that relationships are sustained not by what is visible, but by what is symbolic. Symbols are the bridges between the conscious and the unconscious. When a woman's words, presence, or energy connect with those symbols, something permanent takes root. During P3N3TRAT, the difference becomes clear. Desire may drive the act, but bonding is what remains afterward. A man who feels only desire will be satisfied physically but empty emotionally. He may leave seeking the next spark. But when bonding is activated, he does not just remember the body, he remembers the meaning. He feels that what happened was not only physical, but a confirmation of something essential about himself. That is why deep bonding outlasts desire. The danger is that many relationships stay trapped at the level of desire. Women often invest in appearance, in attraction, in maintaining the spark. This has its place, but it is not enough. Because as soon as another spark appears elsewhere, desire shifts. What creates exclusivity is when the man feels that his soul was seen and recognized. Desire touches the surface. Bonding touches the root. So how does bonding form? It begins with recognition. When a woman, in moments of intimacy, communicates that she sees the man not just as a body, but as a being with depth, something inside him relaxes. His unconscious registers that he is safe, valued, irreplaceable. These signals, though subtle, are what convince him to stay, not because he is trapped, but because he feels complete. Jung explained that the unconscious is always searching for wholeness. Desire alone cannot provide that because it is temporary, but bonding answers the deeper search. It says, here you are whole. Here you are more than flesh. Here you are meaning. That is why a man may feel desire for others, but he remains loyal to the one with whom he feels bonded. The bond ties him to something greater than pleasure. This difference also explains why some women can attract but cannot keep. Attraction is the spark of desire. Keeping is the root of bonding. One is quick and external. The other is deep and symbolic. To access bonding, a woman must go beyond what is seen and touch what is hidden. She must speak, act, and be present in ways that resonate with his unconscious symbols. Words, once again, play a central role. They carry meaning that cuts deeper than the physical. When spoken during intimacy, they fuse with the experience, transforming it into something unforgettable. The man does not just remember what happened, he remembers how it made him feel about himself. And when he feels elevated, recognized, and complete, he attaches himself without effort. Desire is fire. Bonding is roots. Fire burns bright but can vanish. Roots grow slowly but hold the tree through storms. Every woman can spark desire, but only a few create the roots of bonding. Those who do discover that they no longer have to compete, because once a man bonds deeply, desire for others loses its strength. His loyalty flows not from control but from meaning. Understanding this difference changes everything. It shifts the focus from chasing sparks to nurturing depth. It shows that the true power is not in being the most desired, but in being the most bonded. And once this is clear, the woman holds something stronger than desire. She holds permanence, when the body responds to the psyche. Most people assume intimacy is only physical. They think it is about chemistry, appearance, or skill. Yet Carl Jung's insights reveal a deeper truth. The body does not act alone. It responds to the psyche. What happens in the unconscious shapes what the body feels, how it reacts, and how lasting the experience becomes. If the psyche is touched, the body follows. If it is ignored, desire fades, no matter how strong the attraction once seemed. This explains why some encounters feel empty even when physically intense. The body may move with excitement, but the soul remains untouched. A man can enjoy the act yet feel no reason to return. Nothing lasting was created because the unconscious was never engaged. On the other hand, when the psyche is awakened, even small gestures leave strong impressions. A word, a look, or a silence full of meaning can stir the body in ways no technique can. The body and psyche are not separate. They form one system. Jung taught that symbols are the bridge between them. Words with symbolic weight, spoken during P3N3TRAT, slip into the unconscious. The psyche then signals the body, creating stronger desire, deeper memory, and stronger attachment. The body reacts because the unconscious has been touched. This is why some women become unforgettable. It is not because they were the most beautiful or most skilled. It is because they reached the psyche. Once that happens, the body obeys. The memory of the encounter becomes more than physical. It becomes psychological. The man does not only remember pleasure, he remembers feeling recognized. That memory keeps pulling him back. When the body responds to the psyche, intimacy is no longer mechanical. It becomes meaningful. A single word at the right time can carry more power than hours of performance. A light touch, when loaded with presence, can create more desire than elaborate effort. What matters is resonance. When the psyche is touched, the body naturally aligns. This also explains why defenses collapse during intimacy. The conscious mind may try to stay guarded, but the unconscious does not. In the moment of surrender, the psyche is exposed. If a woman uses that instant not to manipulate but to speak truth, her words become living symbols. His body responds. His breath changes, his tension drops, his energy opens. He is no longer just engaging physically. He is experiencing psychologically. Many women miss this. They invest in tricks, appearances, or strategies. But the body cannot be fooled for long. When the psyche is neglected, interest fades. This is why desire cools in relationships that stay shallow. The unconscious wants more. It seeks meaning, not just stimulation. And once meaning is given, the body responds with loyalty. Think of it like music. A melody can sound pleasant, but a melody with deep lyrics moves the heart. The body reacts with chills, with emotion, with tears. The song becomes unforgettable. In the same way, intimacy without meaning is just melody. Intimacy with words that touch the psyche is a song that remains forever. The force of words is not in their sound, but in their symbolism. Jung emphasized that symbols awaken what is hidden. When authentic words are spoken in the most vulnerable moment, the man's psyche records them. The body then connects not only pleasure but significance to the woman herself. She becomes the symbol of that depth. And because symbols are stronger than instincts, the bond lasts. This is the secret of lasting attraction. Beauty may fade. Novelty may vanish. But meaning does not. The body continues to respond long after external factors change. This is why some relationships remain powerful after years. They touched the unconscious from the beginning and the body never forgot. When the body responds to the psyche, intimacy is transformed. It is no longer about technique or competition. It becomes about truth, resonance, and presence. The woman who understands this no longer needs to chase. She knows that once the psyche is touched, the man's body, memory, and loyalty will follow. In the end, the body does not belong only to the senses. It listens to the soul. And when the soul is touched, the response is deeper, stronger, and enduring. The trigger that awakens exclusivity. Every man may feel attraction for many women, but exclusivity is different. Attraction can be casual and short-lived, while exclusivity is rare and enduring. It happens when something inside him is touched so deeply that he no longer compares, no longer searches, no longer divides his attention. Carl Jung's work helps explain this. Exclusivity is not born from rules, control, or fear of losing. It is born from a psychological trigger that convinces the unconscious, not just the conscious, that one woman is irreplaceable. This trigger is not appearance. Beauty can capture attention but cannot secure permanence. Countless women may be beautiful, and beauty alone does not stop a man from wandering. The unconscious looks for something else, something symbolic. The trigger that awakens exclusivity is the sense of meaning that arises when he feels recognized beyond the surface. He must feel that his essence has been seen. When that happens, he stops seeking elsewhere, not because he is forced, but because his unconscious has already chosen. During P3N3TRAT, this trigger becomes most powerful. The conscious defenses are lowered, and the unconscious opens. Words spoken at that instant do not act like ordinary sounds. They sink into symbolic depth. If those words confirm his worth, his uniqueness, his role in destiny, they strike the exact place where exclusivity is born. The man may not even understand why, but he begins to feel anchored to that woman. This does not mean control or manipulation. Exclusivity is not about trapping someone with fear or guilt. Those tactics may create temporary loyalty, but they also build resentment. True exclusivity comes when the unconscious feels safe, valued, and complete. It is not a prison, it is a choice made so deeply that alternatives lose their force. Think of exclusivity as a lock. Many women try to force it with suspicion, jealousy, or demands. But the lock does not open with pressure, it opens with the right key. That key is recognition. Recognition that he is not only desired for his body or his role, but seen as a whole being. When he hears this recognition at his most vulnerable moment, the key turns. Once the lock is open, exclusivity awakens naturally. Jung described the unconscious as a world ruled by symbols. Symbols are stronger than logic. They do not argue. They resonate. When a woman's words during intimacy become symbols of safety, destiny, and belonging, the man's unconscious connects them with loyalty. It is not a rational decision. It is a symbolic bond, and bonds made of symbols last longer than those made of obligation. This explains why some women never have to compete. They are not always the most beautiful or the most skilled, but they discovered the trigger. They understood that exclusivity is born from depth, not surface. Once the unconscious feels anchored, no other woman, no matter how attractive, can easily break that bond. The trigger is also reinforced over time. Each moment of recognition, each word that carries truth, strengthens the bond. But the most powerful moment to plant it is during intimacy. That is when the unconscious is most open, most ready to receive. A phrase that confirms value in that instant is remembered far longer than daily compliments. It becomes imprinted, tied to vulnerability, tied to pleasure, tied to meaning. Exclusivity is therefore not about denying desire for others. It is about making desire irrelevant. The man may still notice other women, but the pull is weak compared to the anchor in his unconscious. He returns to the one who touched him at the deepest level. The bond is not enforced by fear but chosen by recognition. This is the difference between ordinary relationships and unforgettable ones. Ordinary ones rely on surface attraction and control. Unforgettable ones rely on the trigger that awakens exclusivity. Once a man experiences it, he does not easily let it go. The woman becomes the symbol of depth, the one who reached beyond the body into the psyche. When exclusivity is awakened, the man no longer wonders if he is missing out. He feels whole where he is. The unconscious does not push him elsewhere. It pulls him back to the same woman again and again. That is why those who discover this trigger never have to chase. They hold the key that no one else can copy, how the unconscious reveals what he never says. Every man lives with two worlds inside him. There is the world he shows to others, confident, rational, controlled. And then there is the world he keeps hidden, full of longings, doubts, and fears he will not admit. Carl Jung explained that this second world, the unconscious, influences choices far more than the conscious self. A man may never say what he truly needs, but his unconscious constantly expresses it in symbols, gestures, and reactions that reveal his inner truth. You can see this in contradictions. He insists he is fine, but his eyes avoid yours. He says he does not care, yet his voice betrays tension. He acts detached, but his hands tremble when the subject matters. These cracks are not accidents. They are messages from the unconscious, slipping past the mask of control. They are signals waiting to be recognized. A woman who learns to notice them begins to see the man beneath the surface. Intimacy makes these signals louder. During P3N3TRAT, the conscious mind relaxes. Defenses that keep him guarded all day lose strength. The man who seems unshakable suddenly reveals vulnerability in his breath, in his rhythm, in his silence. The unconscious rises, showing what he cannot say in daylight. At that moment, the woman has rare access to the deepest layer of his being. If she speaks words of recognition, they do not enter his ears only. They sink into his soul. Why does this matter? Because the unconscious directs behavior more than the conscious. A man may say he avoids commitment, but if his unconscious feels bonded, he stays. He may claim he wants freedom, but if his unconscious is touched, he returns. His outer words and inner drives often conflict, and it is the unconscious that wins. Jung warned that until the unconscious is acknowledged, it rules life silently. The unconscious speaks through symbols. Dreams are the clearest example, but intimacy also creates this symbolic space. In the vulnerable state of surrender, he is like someone dreaming while awake. His gestures, his eyes, his silences are symbols of need. When a woman answers these symbols with her own words of depth, she connects where logic cannot reach. Ordinary compliments rarely work because they target the conscious mind, which doubts and resists. The unconscious, however, does not argue. It resonates. When words carry symbolic meaning, truth, destiny, belonging, they act like keys in a lock. A phrase spoken at the right instant becomes imprinted. It tells his unconscious, you are seen, you are chosen, you are unique. That phrase bonds him in a way surface flattery never could. This is why some women are unforgettable. The man cannot explain it logically, but his unconscious remembers. It remembers the moment he felt accepted without asking, recognized without explaining. That memory ties him back even if he tries to move forward. His body may forget, but the unconscious does not. Jung taught that every person seeks wholeness, the union between what is shown and what is hidden. When a man experiences this wholeness in intimacy, he bonds powerfully to the one who allowed it. She becomes the mirror of his hidden self. With her, he feels complete. Without her, he feels divided. This is the silent foundation of fidelity. Notice that this has nothing to do with tricks or manipulation. Manipulation targets the conscious and creates resistance. True connection targets the unconscious and creates loyalty. The difference is authenticity. Words spoken from truth act as symbols. Words spoken to control ring hollow. The unconscious knows the difference instantly. When a woman recognizes his subtle signals and responds with authenticity, she bypasses all surface defenses. She speaks to the core of him. At that level, loyalty does not need to be demanded, it grows naturally. He may not even understand why he is so drawn to her, but his unconscious has already decided. This explains why some relationships endure storms. They are anchored in the unconscious. Others collapse quickly because they were built only on surface attraction. The unconscious keeps score, and once it has been touched, no substitute feels the same. A man may wander, but comparisons haunt him. He remembers where he felt whole. In the end, what he never says is more important than what he speaks. His unconscious is always telling the truth through silence, contradictions, and vulnerability. The woman who listens beyond words and responds with depth becomes unforgettable. She does not force fidelity, she awakens it. She does not demand loyalty, she plants it. And once his unconscious feels recognized, exclusivity becomes inevitable. The instant that redefines fidelity. Fidelity is often misunderstood. Many think it is built through rules, agreements, or external control. But true fidelity does not come from pressure. It comes from an instant, one decisive moment in which the unconscious is touched so deeply that the man redefines loyalty for himself. Carl Jung's ideas help explain this. Fidelity is not forced from the outside, it is chosen from within. This instant does not happen in everyday routines. It does not appear in casual conversations or repeated promises. It happens in vulnerability, when defenses fall and the unconscious is exposed. For many men, this moment emerges in intimacy. During P3N3TRAT, when the conscious mind is silent and the unconscious rises, a single phrase can alter the way he sees the bond. It can transform desire into loyalty, attraction into exclusivity. Why is this moment so decisive? Because the unconscious is always seeking meaning. Instinct alone does not satisfy. It burns quickly and disappears. But when intimacy delivers symbolic recognition, the unconscious attaches. A phrase that says you are more than a body or you are part of my destiny becomes unforgettable. It imprints itself into his psyche, tying fidelity not to obligation but to identity. He is no longer loyal because he must be, but because he feels whole in that choice. Many women try to secure fidelity through vigilance, checking, testing, questioning. Yet these strategies target the conscious mind, which resists control. The unconscious, however, responds differently. It does not argue. It resonates. One moment of authentic recognition during vulnerability carries more power than months of rules. That moment becomes a turning point, silently redefining what fidelity means to him. This is why some men stay bound to certain women long after separation. It is not habit or fear. It is because at some point they experienced the instant. They felt a phrase or gesture that confirmed their essence. That memory keeps pulling them back even if life moved on. Fidelity was not signed on paper. It was written in the unconscious. Think of it like a seal. Most bonds are written in ink. They fade, they tear, they wash away. But when the unconscious is touched, the bond is written in stone. It survives storms, distance, and temptation. The man may notice others, but his loyalty remains tied to the one who imprinted the seal. This is why exclusivity feels effortless once the instant happens. It no longer needs to be demanded. It has already been chosen. The instant that redefines fidelity is not always dramatic. It may be a quiet phrase whispered at the right time. It may be recognition given in the exact second of vulnerability. The conscious mind might forget, but the unconscious does not. It replays the memory, linking loyalty to meaning. That meaning becomes stronger than any distraction. Jung taught that wholeness is the ultimate goal of the psyche. Fidelity is one expression of this wholeness. When a man feels complete in the presence of a woman, he does not look elsewhere. Why would he if his unconscious already feels fulfilled? This is why fidelity cannot be demanded. It must be awakened, and once awakened, it becomes self-sustaining. For women, this means the true key to loyalty is not competition or control. It is presence and truth. The right words at the right moment speak louder than suspicion or rules. They anchor the unconscious. And once anchored, the man does not wander. He does not compare. His loyalty is not fragile, it is rooted. This also explains why shallow relationships collapse. They never reach the instant. Desire may exist, attraction may be strong, but fidelity does not form because the unconscious was never touched. Without the instant, bonds remain weak. With it, bonds endure beyond logic. The beauty of this truth is that it frees women from endless struggle. You do not have to chase or monitor. You only have to recognize the power of that instant. When intimacy comes, speak words that carry depth. Words that tell him he is unique, chosen, part of something larger. These are not empty lines. They are keys. And once the lock turns, fidelity is redefined forever. In the end, fidelity is not a contract signed in the conscious mind. It is a memory sealed in the unconscious. It is born in one moment of truth that becomes impossible to erase. The woman who understands this holds more power than she realizes. She does not beg for loyalty. She awakens it. She does not fight rivals. She makes them irrelevant. Because once the instant happens, fidelity is no longer about rules. It is about identity, the final key that few dare to use. Throughout history, people have searched for the secret to lasting love. Many believe it is beauty, charm, or effort. Others think it is rules, control, or sacrifice. Yet Carl Jung's perspective suggests something different. The strongest bonds are created when the unconscious is touched in a way so deep that it feels irreversible. There is a final key to this process, a key few dare to use because it demands authenticity, courage, and presence. This final key is not performance. It is not manipulation. It is the choice to reveal your own soul in the moment when his is exposed. During P3N3TRAT, when a man's defenses fall and his unconscious rises, words become symbols. But what makes them powerful is not just what you say, it is the truth behind them. Many avoid this because revealing truth means showing vulnerability. It means saying words that come from the core, not from a strategy. And yet that is exactly why they work. Few women use this key because it feels risky. To speak words that reveal not only recognition of him, but also your own depth is to step into sacred ground. Most prefer safe compliments or playful remarks, but safe words rarely create unforgettable bonds. The final key demands more. It asks for words that affirm his uniqueness while exposing your own sincerity. It asks for authenticity so raw that it pierces through both psyches at once. Jung described relationships as mirrors of the self. What you awaken in another is often what you also reveal about yourself. When a woman dares to speak from her soul in that moment of intimacy, she does not just confirm the man's essence, she reveals her own. The unconscious responds because it recognizes truth. He feels that what is being said cannot be faked, and that recognition binds him. The final key is the courage to go beyond surface words. Instead of saying what you think he wants to hear, you speak what resonates from your being. It might be simple. You are mine. It might be profound. You are part of me. Whatever the phrase, its force lies not in complexity but in authenticity. These words act like symbols, and symbols enter the unconscious without resistance. Why do few dare to use it? Because authenticity exposes you to rejection. To speak truth means risking vulnerability, but this very risk is what gives the words power. The unconscious knows when a moment carries weight. It records vulnerability as sacred, and it ties that memory to the person who created it. That is why the final key cannot be imitated by games. It requires presence, courage, and soul. When used, the effect is lasting. The man does not just remember the physical act. He remembers the unveiling of truth. That unveiling becomes a seal in his unconscious, stronger than beauty, stronger than novelty. He no longer compares because no comparison exists. He was touched at a level that makes substitutes meaningless. The final key also liberates women. Instead of exhausting energy and endless strategies, you realize that authenticity is the true power. To reveal your soul in the moment of his deepest openness is to secure a bond beyond rules. It is not about force, it is about resonance. And resonance, once created, does not fade. This is why Jung insisted that symbols rule the human soul. A word spoken with truth in the instant of intimacy becomes more than language, it becomes destiny. It redefines fidelity, it awakens exclusivity, it anchors loyalty. Few dare to use the key because it requires stepping beyond fear. But those who do discover that they no longer need to compete, because they have already touched the one place no rival can reach. In the end, the final key is not about him alone. It is also about you. It is about daring to be real in the most vulnerable instant, trusting that truth has more strength than performance. When you speak from the core of your being, his unconscious recognizes it, and the bond becomes unbreakable. And so, the true power is not in tricks or control, but in daring to reveal what is real. Because when you touch both his soul and your own, you create a bond that no time, no distance, and no temptation can erase.